It all started like any other quiet morning in Atlanta. Cameras were off, social media seemed calm, and everyone thought the long, messy history between Tiny, Shekinah, and T.I. had finally faded into the background. But no one could have predicted what was about to unfold. A courtroom showdown that would drag up years of secrets, lies, and betrayals that fans thought were buried forever. Shekinah wasn't new to drama. Fans had seen her emotional moments before, especially during her friendship with Tiny. They were once inseparable, laughing together on TV, doing hair, gossiping, and backing each other up no matter what. But this time, things were different. This wasn't about a friendship falling apart. This was about something much deeper, something that had apparently been hidden inside the Harris family for years. When the news first broke that Shekinah had filed official court papers, nobody believed it. Social media blew up with confusion. Is this real? Is she really taking Tiny to court? But the documents were real, and when people read what was inside, the internet went into meltdown mode. According to Shekinah, she wasn't just suing Tiny. She was ready to tell everything. Every secret, every betrayal, every hidden truth that had been quietly covered up for years. At first, Tiny tried to stay quiet. Her team released a short statement, calm, professional, and vague. It said everything and nothing at the same time. But behind the scenes, people close to the situation claimed that Tiny was furious. Not just at Shekinah for bringing legal heat, but because of what Shekinah allegedly threatened to expose if things didn't go her way. It wasn't just about money or a falling out between two friends. No, this was personal. Painfully personal. According to sources close to both women, things between Tiny and Shekinah had been tense for years. Fans saw it play out on reality TV. The awkward silences, the moments when they'd snap at each other on camera, and those uncomfortable Instagram live sessions where private arguments suddenly turned public. But what no one knew was that, off camera, the arguments were about much more than hurt feelings. One of the biggest shocks came when Shekinah took the stand and allegedly started detailing moments that had never seen the light of day, things she claimed she witnessed inside Tiny's circle, things that made even the courtroom go silent. She didn't raise her voice, but her words carried weight. The kind of weight that changes everything. She talked about loyalty, about trust, about being used, then thrown away. She said that for years she had stood beside Tiny and T.I., defending them when the world turned against them, believing that their bond was unbreakable. But what she didn't realize, she said, was that behind closed doors, things weren't what they seemed. There were moments, she told the court, when she felt like she was being manipulated, made to speak for things she didn't fully understand, pushed to defend choices she didn't agree with. And as the words came out, the audience inside that courtroom reportedly couldn't look away. Tiny's lawyers tried to interrupt several times. They said Shekinah was exaggerating, that her emotions were clouding the facts. But Shekinah stayed calm. For once, she wasn't crying on Instagram Live. She was standing tall, confident, steady, and determined to finally be heard. Fans watching from outside were stunned. Some couldn't believe it had gone this far. Others said they always knew something wasn't right between them, that you can only hide tension for so long before it explodes. But then came the real twist, the part that had everyone's jaw on the floor. According to witnesses inside the courtroom, Shekinah revealed that she had recordings. Not leaked videos or gossip clips, but private recordings, moments between her and Tiny that she claimed proved how deeply things had gone wrong between them. She said these recordings weren't meant to hurt anyone. They were for her own protection. But when she felt betrayed, she decided the truth needed to come out. The courtroom fell into silence. Even the judge reportedly had to pause the session to calm the crowd. It was that explosive. For Tiny, it was a nightmare. To have her private moments dragged into a courtroom by someone who used to be like family, that was the ultimate betrayal. For T.I., watching from the sidelines, the situation was unbearable. This wasn't just about Tiny and Shekinah. This was now about their entire family name. People close to T.I. said he tried to talk to both sides privately, hoping to end the chaos before it got worse. But by then it was too late. The damage was done. Shekinah wasn't backing down, and Tiny wasn't going to let her reputation crumble in public. The tension reached a point where fans began taking sides, some saying Shekinah had every right to speak up after years of being silenced, while others accused her of betrayal, saying she was exposing private family business for clout or revenge. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just another celebrity feud. It was personal war, behind the scenes. Sources say Tiny's team began digging up their own evidence, old text messages, past contracts, and communications that could prove Shekinah's claims weren't as clear-cut as she made them seem. It was no longer about friendship or loyalty. It was about survival, both women trying to protect their names, their legacies, and their truth. And in the middle of it all, T.I. was torn apart. Friends of the rapper said he was furious at how things had spiraled. He wanted to defend his wife, but at the same time, he couldn't believe that someone who had once been like a sister to Tiny would go this far. Rumors began spreading that T.I. had personally reached out to Shekinah, hoping to end the feud privately, but she allegedly refused unless things were handled on her terms. She wanted respect. She wanted acknowledgement. She wanted the truth out in the open. No more hidden lies, no more controlling narratives. Then, as if things couldn't get any wilder, a short audio clip leaked online. It was muffled, hard to hear, but fans swore they recognized Shekinah's voice. The clip went viral within minutes. People started analyzing every second, trying to figure out if it was real or fake. The clip seemed to show a heated argument, words about loyalty, betrayal, and how everything was recorded. Some fans said it was proof that Shekinah had receipts. Others believed it was staged. But either way, the damage was done. The court case was now the hottest topic on every gossip blog, and the internet couldn't stop talking. Days later, Tiny finally broke her silence. In a quiet, serious tone, she addressed her followers. She didn't name names, but everyone knew who she was talking about. She said betrayal hurts most when it comes from people you thought would always have your back. She said some people will twist your pain into their story, and that sometimes silence is the loudest response. Fans flooded her comments with support. Others said they wished she'd just tell her side fully. But Tiny didn't want to feed the fire anymore. She was done fighting online. She wanted peace, or at least the illusion of it. Meanwhile, Shekinah kept posting. Her tone shifted. She wasn't crying anymore. She was calm, reflective, almost philosophical. She talked about healing, about how people will use you when it benefits them, then pretend you never existed. She said she had learned the hard way that silence can be mistaken for weakness. But even then, there were whispers that this wasn't over. That more court hearings were coming, that more evidence might surface, that more secrets could spill. And the scariest part? Nobody knew who might be next. Because when someone close to the family decides to expose the truth, it doesn't just stop with one person. It ripples through everyone. T.I., Tiny, their children, their friends, their entire inner circle. And with every new headline, the cracks in their carefully built public image grew wider. By this point, fans were torn between sympathy and shock. Some felt bad for Tiny, saying no one deserves to have their personal life ripped open like that. Others said maybe it was time the truth came out, no matter how messy it looked. But one thing everyone agreed on, this drama had officially crossed the line from gossip to history. The next hearing was scheduled, and the buzz was that Shekinah had more to reveal. Insiders said this round might include names that nobody expected. People from the music industry, old friends, even a few family members. The air around the case felt electric, like everyone was waiting for the next bombshell. Through it all, T.I. tried to stay focused on work. He posted motivational quotes, did interviews, and tried to show that he was unbothered. But behind that calm exterior, sources said he was exhausted, emotionally drained from watching the two women who had once been closest to his heart destroy each other publicly. What made it worse was how fans started connecting old interviews, resurfacing past moments that suddenly took on new meaning. Clips from years ago where Tiny or Shekinah would joke about trust or loyalty were now being seen as subtle warnings, signs that the friendship had cracks long before anyone realized it. As days turned into weeks, the situation slowly started calming down. The internet moved on to new scandals, new stories. But for those who lived through it, Tiny, Shekinah, and T.I., things would never be the same. There are wounds that time doesn't fully heal, especially when they come from betrayal. Shekinah may have found her voice, but at what cost? Tiny may have protected her name, but she lost someone she once called family. And T.I. Shaum, he was left standing in the middle, watching everything he built fracture piece by piece. Months later, during an interview, Tiny was asked about forgiveness. She smiled softly, paused, and said, "Some things you forgive, some things you just learn to live with." That was all she said. But her tone said everything. And Shekinah? She took a different route. She said she wasn't bitter, she was free. That speaking her truth, even if people misunderstood it, gave her peace. The case may have ended, but the fallout lingered. Trust was broken, hearts were hardened, and what once looked like an unbreakable sisterhood had turned into a cautionary tale about fame, loyalty, and what happens when private pain becomes public entertainment. Fans still debate who was right and who was wrong. But the truth is, in stories like this, everyone loses something. Whether it's friendship, reputation, or peace of mind, the cost of exposure is always high. And as the final clip from that courtroom spread online, with Shekinah walking out, head held high, cameras flashing, and reporters shouting questions, one thing became clear. The story wasn't just about a lawsuit. It was about survival, truth, and how even the strongest bonds can break when the weight of secrets becomes too heavy to carry. Tiny may have stayed silent, but her silence spoke volumes. And Shekinah? Her voice echoed, raw, emotional, and unforgettable. Because when the truth finally comes out, nobody walks away the same.